Village Board meeting to order, 6 o'clock. Roll call.
Trustee Mahoney.
Here.
Trustee Oakland is absent. Trustee Guma.
Here.
Trustee Sauter.
Here.
Trustee Saviano.
Here.
Trustee Kunze. Present. And President Pearson.
Here. All right. Rise to the pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. That brings us to public comment. Do we have any public comments?
None.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will move to approve the regular village board meeting minutes dated August 4th, 2025. I'll also move to accept the warrants list in the amount of $925,337.76. I'll move to approve a resolution reaffirming and restating the potential reimbursement of eligible costs in a possible tax increment financing district and to induce development interest on land on the southwest corner of Higgins Road and Beverly Road. I'll move to approve an ordinance granting a special use permit for a massage establishment for the property located at 210 Penny Avenue, Unit A. I will move to approve a resolution waiving bidding requirement and approving procurement of a grinder for the village's wastewater treatment plant from JWC Environmental, and I will move to approve an ordinance authorizing the execution of a third amendment to the Employment Agreement Act, agreement for our village administrator.
A second.
Okay. Any discussion? Do a roll call.
Trustee Mahoney.
Here. Yes.
Trustee Guma.
Yes.
Trustee Sauter.
Yes.
Trustee Saviano.
Yes.
And Trustee Kunze.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're going to jump ahead because we're waiting on someone to bring us to other agenda items B. Review and discuss second quarter budget presentation.
You're
Lead
on,
off.
Brandon.
She thought she had some time.
Good evening. First, I want to acknowledge that we did make an adjustment to one of the slides. So what was previously posted online has been updated. And I'll point that out when we get to it.
What I downloaded didn't have any budget slides in it. So it's
What is the
attached to
preview?
the meeting, so like here. So
Oh, it's that presentation.
yes.
That's the problem I had. As well.
Saw it earlier.
It opened for me today.
It opened for you?
Today.
Earlier.
Earlier today.
Oh, it just opened for me just now too, in fact.
Maybe it's the start.
Oh, I'm just getting the recommendation. That's all I'm really getting.
There you go.
That's weird.
Probably because we loaded this page prior to the attachment.
You gotta go back to.
No.
It's the second. Keep, if you slide down.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was at the bottom of that?
Yes.
At the right?
There.
So this is a review of our second quarter, so April through June of '25. This is preliminary and unaudited, so at the end of the year, after we go through our audit process, some of the budget numbers may change. Okay, so year to date, the village has received a total of 9.4 million in revenues, and that is 55% of our total projected budget for revenues. We have expended a total of 8 million, almost 8.1 million, and that's 69% of our total budget, and this is across all of our funds. Currently, revenues exceed expenditures by $1.3 million. So we'll first get into our general fund revenues.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is the 69% of the budget on the expenditures, is that what we would have expected for this? Like, we're halfway through the year, but.
So yeah, we should be about 50%. However, we've had some projects come through fruition, and also a lot of our budgeted items for, say for instance, community events have already been planned for and spent out. So it
Some
just
of it's
depends on
front
like
loaded.
what the specific project is. And we'll get into some of those things as I go through the presentation. So general fund revenues, we've received a total of 4.3 million, or 50% of our projected revenues. Some of those categories where we have met the benchmark of the 50% is within our permits category. We've received almost 67% of revenues. Charges for services at 73%. Excuse me, and other revenues, which include like interest that we may receive from our banking institutions. That's at 63%. Some of the categories that do not meet or fall below are our taxes, which we don't receive our property taxes until June, so we're starting to receive that as I was going through and processing quarter two. Yes. We have received less for our licenses so far, which is about 24%, which is also expected because most of our licenses don't renew until toward the end of the fiscal year. So around December, November, December is when we'll see an uptick in our license revenues, and fines and fees, which is almost at the benchmark of 50%. Right now it's at 47%, and that is any fees or fines that we may receive for parking tickets, things like that. Any questions?
Can we just, big picture, go back, so this is from January to the end of June?
No, this is just our quarter two. So, but
Our
yes,
quarter
it does
two.
kind of encompass everything that we said.
And quarter two ends when?
June,
June.
June 30th. So I did a comparison month by month of what we would have received in fiscal year 24 compared to where we are now. And as you can see, we may have received about 45,000 more in fiscal year 24, or about 2%, 0.02% more in last year's revenues over this year. And that can be attributed to a host of different things, just depending on permits that may have come through or other miscellaneous revenues. So we are on target within our general fund, and I'll kind of break down our streaming tax. And we wanted to kind of give you, the board, an update of where we are with our streaming tax and also our vehicle tax revenue, because those are two of the newer implemented taxes for the village. So both of those taxes began for us in 2022, and to date we have collected for our streaming tax $348,312, and you can see kind of a breakdown of where we have or what amounts we've collected in each of the years. I just want to also point out that Caleb's been killing it in collecting and reaching out to all of the businesses to get them in compliance with our streaming tax. So in some years you may see that, say for instance in 2023, that we received a little bit more than we did in 24, but as companies are coming on and paying their past due taxes to us as well. So some of that may fluctuate until we kind of get a more consistent
But we
payment.
still haven't managed to get Netflix on board, have we?
We're close though, right?
I don't want to jinx anything. I'm cautious about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very close.
Extremely close.
What am I missing out on?
So, and I'm sorry if I put you on the spot with this question, so with the streaming revenues, does that in any way, how does that compare to what in 2020 or 2021 we might have collected from the cable licensing?
Yes, we'll have
Revenues.
to get back to you on that, because I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure.
Okay, just curious.
Okay. So I wanted to outline some of our top payers since implementation. As you can see, Hulu, Disney, DirecTV are some of our top payers. And this will probably change again as we get more companies into compliance. And next we'll go to our vehicle parking tax. So this was also implemented in July of 2022, and year to date, 2022 to date, we've received $712,961. So that's been a pretty consistent revenue source for the village, having increased it, I believe, in '24 from a $2, or I forgot what the previous amount of the collection was, but to 6% for '24. And that's when you see a bigger jump in the revenues received.
But still this like up and down and up and down. Have we ever figured out why that happens that way? Is it?
It's been steadily increasing, and this is just through June, so.
But I mean,
Aren't they on some people paying
Oh,
quarterly?
per month, yes, sometimes,
Paying
yes,
quarterly.
yes.
oh,
It just depends on
Gotcha.
their payment method
gotcha.
and collection method, yes, sorry.
Thank you.
So some of the top payers for our vehicle parking, we currently have 6 total, so I guess I just included all of them, but Land has been our top payer at $577,000 so far, with Michael Land, which is, I forget off the top of my head what his organization is, but he's number 2 at almost 75,000 collected so far to date. 590. Thank you.
And this doesn't include the recently annexed property on the south side of 72. But I think they had a 6-month window to start paying, so we should start seeing that in the fall.
Any questions on the vehicle parking tax? So next I'll get into our general fund revenue. So that's all of our operating expenses for each of our departments. And so far expenditures are at almost 2 million, and that's about 38% of our $8.3 million budget. Right now our expenditures fall below benchmark. And we're at we're probably at about almost 40% of expenses. So we're about 11 or 12% under this benchmark amount. Departments that are currently meeting or exceeding the benchmark is finance department, that's me, and garbage collections. And the garbage fee is also offset by revenues that we collect from our residents that pay us bi-monthly for their garbage service. Departments that fall below benchmark are administration department, police, basically every other department, building, public works, and community events. I like to kind of break down our expenses by category. So you'll see that personnel, this is the slide that I updated from earlier. So right now our personnel expenses, which includes salary, insurance, and any other benefits that are allotted to our employees by contracts or personnel manual obligations, we're at about 2 million or 63.5% of total budget or total expenditures. Contractual services, that includes IT, engineering, legal, and that's at 482,000 or 83,000. That's about 15% of total budget. And communications is $193,570, or sorry, $750,000, and that's 5% of total budget. And communication include our dispatching service for police and telephones and any other methods that we're using to communicate with individuals. And other services and charges, which primarily includes our risk insurance. Part of being in 2 different counties, specifically Cook County, means that our risk insurance rates increase accordingly. So right now, we've spent about $160,000 just for our risk insurance alone. Any questions about expenditures? So our streets, MST, and capital funds, these are all revenues that we get from other sources. We do have now implemented the local gas tax, which we started receiving revenues in for April. We collected in May, so we're just now starting to kind of see revenues for that in the capital projects fund. And you can see that so far revenues in the streets fund is about $28,000, and we do get a portion of our revenues from streets from property taxes collected through Kane County and then redistributed to the village. MFT revenues are collected by the state and then redistributed to us, and that is or almost $99,000, and we've expended $66,000, and I'll get into that. Actually, this is very easier. So, expenditures for MFT include snow removal from earlier in the year at about $25,000. That could also include the purchase of salt. Utilities for our street lights is about $12,000, and street improvements, including engineering for different street projects and the Barrington Avenue project, totals $29,000. Excuse me. And those were the major expenses in that motor fuel tax fund.
On the snow removal, is that contracted out, or what, how did that get broken?
No, that's primarily salt, right?
That's
Salt, okay.
Yeah.
You said that, all right, thanks.
Revenues for the capital projects fund include, like I stated before, the newly implemented gas tax, and so far as of June, we've received about $24,000. We also received video gaming tax from the comptroller's office, and so far as of June, we've received about $221,000. And then we received a portion of our parking garage grant from DCEO, and that was $350,000. Expenses in that fund total 2.9 or almost $3 million. And some of the projects we've used, or some of the purchases made, is a new copier for the Village Hall, and that was almost $16,000. The building department vehicle, almost $29,000. Village Hall improvements, just to finalize that project, is almost $64,000. Police facility improvements at $17,000. Public Works dump truck purchase, $125,000. The parking garage, almost $2.2 million. And other public improvements, including Barrington pole removal, street project, sidewalk project, all for about $177,000. And then we've had some property acquisition for 16 East Main and 120 Railroad, and that totaled $287,000.
Was this our last payment on the garage?
I'm sorry?
Was this our last payment on the garage, or is this our?
No, this is just as of June. So
What
there are
else
some
would we owe
ongoing.
them?
I'm sorry?
I'm assuming this isn't for the loan, this is for the actual
No,
payment
yes.
to, McHugh.
Yes.
This 2.1, well, you're saying we still owe McHugh more money?
There were some other expenses after June.
Is the
Oh.
Not
project
much,
fully
but
closed out,
some.
Bronco?
I believe it is, yeah.
I didn't hear what you said.
I asked him if the project was fully closed out, meaning the last payment has been made.
Yeah.
And he said yes.
Okay.
I think there was like 1 or 2 maybe payments in July.
Yeah,
That you
and when
missed.
we pay that, loan for that, is that gonna be paid for by the capital fund, or is that gonna be paid for by the general fund?
That's gonna be paid for by the BDD. That's what the board decided last
Right.
year to
It's
increase
true.
that to from 0.75 to 1%, and
Yes.
then to allocate that to the debt service.
Okay.
Any other questions about the MFT or capital projects fund? So the business development district, we have 3, and I kind of lumped them all together. As you can see, the revenues we receive for the 3 BDDs are from our sales tax, specific to the BDD tax that we have implemented. Sorry, one should be at 1%.
But it only went into effect July 1, so technically this
That's
is
true. So far, we've received 41% of budgeted revenues at $247 of almost $48,000. And total expenses within the fund are about $83,000 or 19% of budget. Most of our expenses are related to developer reimbursement. So we've had 1 reimbursement for 100 Dundee Avenue in the amount of $25,000. And then another for 311 Barrington, and that was for $17,275,000. The Arts Council sculpture renderings for almost $500, and the Habitat for Humanity's purchase at $3,500. And then we did do the side project for the gravel lot at $24,000. And then next we'll get to our TIFs. And our TIFs, the revenues for that generated by our property tax revenues that we received. And again, we didn't start receiving until June, so this is, the revenues here will not, they're pretty good. 2.3 million at almost 62% of our budgeted revenues for the TIFs. We've had property tax revenue and interest received at 2.2, and then we have an agreement with JD Byrider, and they pay a portion of their bond payment, so we also include that as revenues. And so far, we've received about $95,000 from them. Expenses are $203,000. Some of that is related to legal for the 611 Main closeout of that lawsuit, 120 Barrington, 16 East Main real estate purchase, and some annexation and parking garage legal services that we needed help with, and that was about $25,000. Hager, so we've had some property tax payments that we've had to make that we will get reimbursed for, and then maintenance, including the constant boarding, reboarding of Hager, as of June was at $44,000. For professional services used for the consultants for the development of historical guidelines, that was at $16,000. And then we've also had some redevelopment, some developer payments for our redevelopment agreements. One was for High Street at $41,000, and another for 311 Barrington at $53,000. And we've made some bond payments for our fire district bond that we owe. That was $100,000. And then we've made interest payments for 4 of our bonds. So So those are the expenses so far in the tax districts. Any questions? Okay. And then finally, our water sewer fund. So we've received 1.8 million in revenues, or 67% of budgeted revenues. Those can be broken out into general user fees, so just what our residents pay for their water sewer service at about 1.2 million. West Dundee pays a fee for treatment of their wastewater, and they've paid so far $282,000. And then West Dundee also pays for their debt service for well number 5. Sure.
No, the wastewater treatment plant, that'd be the expansion
Okay.
of the treatment plant.
So that's $234,530. And that's just the first half of the payment that they owe. And then any interest that we accrue from our banking institutions, so far we've received about $35,000. Total expenditures are about 1.2 or 1.3 million, and that is 41% of budgeted expenses. Most of that is attributed to personnel, so wages and salaries and any other insurance or union expenses, and that's at $418,000. Maintenance of the water utilities, so any water main breaks that have happened, totaled through June is $19,682. And then public utilities, so that includes ComEd and NICOR, but mostly ComEd for just operating the facilities, and that's at about $101,000. And then we've made debt service payments in the amount of $322,986. Any questions about the water sewer fund? We did want to show the board kind of our debt service so far, so you can see where we've come from. The total debt that we've accumulated so far is about $48 million, and that was incurred over a course of years, so it's not all going to just show at one time on the chart. But so as of today, the village has a debt balance of $12.3 million, so we've done a really good job at paying down that large debt balance that we started with. In 2024, the village did take on a GO bond for the construction of the parking garage, and that was about $4.8 million. And I also want to point out that the village is seeking additional IEPA loans for water-related projects, and that is in the amount of about $13 million. And some of those projects are related to the lead service line replacements, the standpipe rehabilitation, wastewater and water facility updates, Route 68 water tower rehab, the well number 6 rehab, and also water meter replacement. And then the last unfunded liability that the village has is the police pension, which is $23 million. The goal is to be funded by, so we have 2 different options. So one is by the state legislation to be funded at 90% by 2040, or to be fully funded by 2036, meeting Lauterbach and Ammen's standards, which we've been trying to pay toward Lauterbach's recommended amount every year. And right,
60.99 is an encouraging number.
it is. We've been doing really good.
What was it 5 years ago?
In the 40s?
Yeah, something like that.
40 or low 50, probably.
I'm going to interject just for a second. So one of the reasons I asked Brandis to do this presentation, we don't always do a snapshot of just one quarter. You often do a year-to-date or third quarter year to date, is because we have 3 new members of our board who aren't familiar with the village's budget, and sort of getting this snapshot is just a small way to start familiarizing ourselves with the village's expenses and revenues, and then also, our very next meeting, we're starting on the 2026 budget. So we're gonna do, Brandis, like you said, it's gonna do an overview of, proposed, I think, we started with operations.
Mhm.
So we'll do operations in the September meeting, and then in October we'll move to capital. And one of the things that I wanted to paint a picture of was the debt service. So good news, bad news, we've done a great job paying down the debt, but we've taken on some new debt, and we still need to take on some more new debt, specifically related to water infrastructure, which we'll redo this chart for the budget, including the proposed new debt for the IEPA loan, and sort of balance that with the police pension. So, even though the state
Yeah.
says 90% by 2040, this board has been very aligned on the vision of, pay it down sooner and save more in the long run. So the goal would be fully funded by 2036. We're really doing a great job, and we're on track to get there, because that, every dollar you put in today saves us $20 tomorrow. It's not just $1 tomorrow, it's significant. So if we can keep chipping away at that, that's gonna be really helpful for our cause.
So, with the IEPA loans for the water projects that you've got slated, is that something that you see taking on the need for immediately, or in chunks over the next 4 or 5 years? Because the lead line service replacement is something that is staggered out as projects, the standpipe and that kind of thing. How do you see cadencing that, or is it all one big lump sum that we're gonna be like choking down?
So part of the rationale for that was that there were several large-scale improvements that needed to be completed at a very high price tag. And so for us to, go out and borrow that money on a regular market was not ideal. IEPA gives us low interest loans. It's a great use for borrowing. And because we sort of were front loaded with these high dollar amount projects, the standpipe and the other tower, we have 2 towers. Usually you'd space those out and do one every 10 years. We're gonna do 2 within the span of 10 years. So that's hard.
Because the towers hadn't been addressed for 25 or 30 years.
Yep.
So.
But when Phil and the consultant did the water rate study last fall, it was earlier this spring, they took into account that loan. So that loan is built into the proposed rate structure for the next 15 years. But as we move forward, this debt for the IEP loan is moving forward. It's almost final, pretty close to final. Yeah, so part of the budget discussion this fall would be, do we want to get back on track with the previous proposed rate structure study, or do we want to continue to supplement that with other revenues? So that's the impetus partially for the gas tax that we implemented for the current year, was that could be a good supplemental revenue. And so far it's been fantastic. And we have 6 gas stations at 2 cents a gallon was what the board ultimately decided on. So that's been a very steady and reliable revenue stream that hasn't completely only impacted East Dundee residents, because we have a lot of people coming from outside of town using the fueling stations. So we're in good shape, and we want to continue to be conservative and continue to fund our obligations, and looking forward to robust budget discussions this fall. And Brandis, if you had anything else to add, I'm sorry I interrupted.
Go ahead.
No, we go.
So this 12,267,598 number, that doesn't include that internal loan that we did, that we were gonna forgive. We never did forgive it though, did we?
Are you talking about the township?
No. We talked, in your notes, you had one issue.
Correct.
So that number doesn't include that.
No.
It also doesn't include the police pension debt, the shortage. The
Right.
23 million is not what we're short, is it? Or is it what we're short?
That's the full unfunded liability.
That's what we're short.
Mhm.
So another way of looking at it is that we're $23 million in debt for that. It's a way of looking
Yes.
We're trying to be positive.
at it. I know.
We're also trying to be realistic, which is why
Yeah.
I said when we get to budget, we're gonna redo this chart, because I would like to see on one chart, IUPA loan, current full debt, plus police pension. It's a better overall picture of where we are versus, I mean, this is obviously telling a good story that we've been paying the debt off over time, but
Absolutely.
it's not telling the whole story.
I mean, in that peak debt, 35 million wasn't including the police pension debt
Right.
at that time either. So it was actually 70 million or something crazy.
Probably,
Yeah. But also, we should just keep in mind that that is costing us a lot of money every year to pay that debt down.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing from you is what we're seeing with the bars for the parking garage is just what we had, you know, planned in the books, approved, and the whole 9 yards. We don't have the IEPA and the police pension scenarios in there that would be going forward from here. So we'd have our line kind of jumping up again.
Once we get approval and get a pay out schedule, then we can update the chart
Okay.
to reflect, yes.
Okay.
If you're gonna put a chart up that includes the police pension fund as part of the debt, make sure you backdate
I was
that.
gonna say that too.
So that we don't look like we're all of a sudden
Yes.
going straight up.
Yeah.
And so we can see
Yeah.
the
Starting from
progress.
25.
Apples to apples.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah, apples to apples, for sure.
All right, any more questions?
Yeah, I just have one more. I think it was the capital expenditures where we were like at 70% of our expenditures for the year. Was that the one?
85%.
85%, yes, okay, I was giving you credit. But, so, and understanding that there are expenses that are potentially front-loaded to the beginning of the year and that kind of thing, do we see ourselves coming in on budget within this fund, or do we see ourselves being over budget, you know, in a pinch or something like that with it?
So I am actually working on the July's budget and financial report.
Okay.
So I'll be able to give you a better idea
Okay.
then, but I think we'll be okay as long as nothing crazy happens.
Right.
Yeah, the largest expense for capital this year was the parking garage,
Yes.
so it makes sense that we were at 85% in Q2.
And your staff has been doing a good job of, as new projects come up or more immediate needs come up, swapping out some of the budgeted items for that so
Yeah.
that we're not, you know, just spending.
Okay.
Case in point was the wastewater item on the agenda today when that was an unexpected expense, but we swapped it out for a different
Okay.
planned expense.
All right. Sounds good. That's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we can go to A, discussion direction regarding the proposed soundstage and other improvements to the depot area.
So, hi everyone. I have the pleasure of introducing Patty King and Daniel Wilson from White and Company. They're here to present the initial concepts for the soundstage and civic space around the depot park. Tonight we are looking for a general discussion on concepts of what you may like to see in a phase 2 proposal, and then also project phasing. So, without, I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks. Well, good evening. Thank you for your patience. The storm sort of caught us off guard, so I appreciate your flexibility in letting us go second. My name is Patty King. I am an associate principal at White and Company. I'm a landscape architect. I've got 31 years of experience. all of it's been in the Chicagoland area, so we're super excited to be here with you guys tonight and to share some thoughts. All right. Caleb, can you put it in presentation mode just so we can see all the graphics? Or I suppose I could do that. Haha.
What's a PDF? Is
Go up to the.
Here?
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Great, that's better. I don't want you to miss anything. All right, so context map, clearly y'all all know where the project is. It includes both the area south of Railroad Street and the lawn space just up to the depot, including Railroad Street as well. All right, so our initial concept, we had a couple different ideas that we brought forward working with Caleb and Philip. We met with Erica, and this was the concept that we wanted to share with you guys this evening. In this, we looked at both closing Railroad Street down temporarily, so still allowing some traffic to flow, and then we also looked at options to close it off completely. Based on the amount of space that we have, we would recommend that we close Railroad Street. It creates a more cohesive area. It certainly increases our pedestrian safety, which is important, and actually gives a little more space to the whole area, which is nice. So initially, you'll see that our stage is located at the south end of the site. Both of the concepts that we shared had that located at the south end of the site for a couple different reasons. First, for our performers, they will not have to look into the blaring afternoon sun, so that's important for them. It also allows the lawn seating. It is the low area or low end of the site. It also allows the natural contouring of the site to act as lawn seating. So we liked that location as well. It also allows you to expand basically the whole area from the stage up to the existing depot as lawn or event space. So we liked that it increased that as much as possible in this space. We have some back of house items here. This parking area, we would, during events, we would flag that off, so that would be our loading zone. This curb would be depressed so that we could load things up. Our ramp would come up the back end, a set of stairs for easy access back and forth. So functionally, this space works really well. In front of the stage, we would have what I like to call our dance floor or mosh pit. So it's an area of specialty paving. It could be our ADA seating. It could be our VIP seating. So you can structure that a couple different ways, however you see fit. It could also be the early birds, get those good seats right up front. But just a little something special to demarcate that that's really the front of the stage and seating area. Behind this, we have our lawn seating. We would like to add some catenary lights over the top. It helps to create a much more human scale space. It gives the space a ceiling, which really makes it feel very comfortable. The lighting could be dimmable. You could turn it off during events, but a lot of flexibility with that. All the LEDs now have a variety of colors that you can use, so you can theme it for events, holidays, things like that, which makes it very flexible. Along the sides, both along River Street and along the Fox River Trail, we would really like to have some sort of a low barrier. It could be an ornamental fence, it could be a seat wall, but we really want to help control pedestrian traffic and conflicts with the trail, because when we did our site visit, we were not paying attention all the time. So I felt like we bumped into cyclists a couple times, We love that it's heavily trafficked, so that's a great thing, and we don't want to impede that. So we want to strategically allow some access points through there into the space, but we don't want it to be a free-for-all. So a little bit of controlling all the chaos and pedestrians. With the railroad street right-of-way taken back for the pedestrians, this center area is a great spot for your large picnic pavilion. Currently it's shown at 80 by 40. It is not temporary, so it's going to be there all the time. This also will have some great views down to the stage area, but it's not going to block views from the lawn up here. You really can still see the stage from even way back here if you so desired. So don't think of it as a big block. It's just a roof with our picnic tables. This center zone will also include, could be a splash pad and a trellis over the top of that. A lot of times the kids need a little something extra to do. If you weren't interested in a splash pad, we could definitely do a playground. So you will see later we do have some options for both of those things. So still to be determined at this point. Just wanted to get your sense on how you want to handle that. If we have a splash pad, we've added a shade structure, kind of a pergola of sorts, just to provide a little shade. But if we did a playground, we would probably eliminate that particular piece, just for the height restrictions for the play apparatus and that. On the west side, we would like to introduce a gateway here. And we put it on this side as opposed to the east side because with the future development that's going to go here, we felt like this was a natural connection to that development, particularly because it's for the arts. And we wanted to make sure that we were embracing that as well. Some specialty paving and seating in this zone also. And as we move to the very north end of the site, we are recommending that we move this sidewalk to the back of curb. That does a couple of things for us. It actually creates a safe space for pedestrians to walk and convenient for when they get out of the car. It also combines all the lawn and green space together in one larger space. These tents are 10 by 10, so we can still do, art fairs, farmers markets, things like that. Still has the great flexibility that you have today for outdoor lawn spaces or lawn games and things like that. And then in both options, we are recommending that Meyer Street become two-way instead of just one way to the south. We like the flexibility of both River and Meyer being flexible in both directions. If you're looking for parking, to be able to circle this block, whichever way you happen to be going, makes it really convenient for patrons to find parking. I know your business owners would appreciate that. So we would like to recommend that that particular section of parking be flipped so that we can have it two ways. We would also recommend that the future development down here mimics that as well, so we have some consistency. In order to accommodate this, we will need, we think, 2 or 3 feet, so it's not a lot of space, but that will require redoing this sidewalk as well. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. We are going to get into some of our images.
So basically, everything that you've kind of proposed here,
Yes.
for the most part, is permanent except for the tents that you put in.
Correct.
the one.
Mhm. All right, so we have some inspirational images just to give you a flavor of what you could expect to see there. In our north lawn space by the depot, we've got farmers markets. There could be a spot for food trucks, but we specifically picked a gelato truck because we know we have a lot of restaurants around this space, so we wanted something to complement that. We could have giant chessboards or Connect 4. We definitely want to have some flexible seating and just some general great open lawn spaces. as we move into this western gateway area, the Depot Park, mimicking our new sign guidelines that we have here, some artwork, maybe something that lights up, decorative columns, internally illuminated, maybe some seating with planters, or giant pots. We think that might be a bit of a stretch from keeping everything alive, but we like the image, so just to give you a flavor for what could potentially be there. Moving back into the central core area, this is our splash pad options. So we were looking at two different types of splash pads. One where there would be at-grade nozzles that would include lights. So when the fountain wasn't on, when the splash pad wasn't running, that essentially becomes additional open space, which is nice because it's got some dual purpose. And in the late fall and early spring, if you're having events, but you haven't turned the splash pad on yet, you actually gain access to that space for tables and chairs, things of that nature. It's not just solely dedicated to the splash pad. But we could also do some above ground toys to make it a little more festive. A lot of options for that as well. And then some night shots, again, of what we could do with the water features during events. We would like some seating, stone veneer, wood tops. This is just an example of what that overhead canopy could be, providing some light filtered shade. And we often find swings for big people or big kids are also really great in a setting like this. These can be both permanent or removable for during events, depending on how you want to do that. So again, you've got some flexibility there, but we've never ever had any issue with somebody hating these swings. If we didn't want to do a splash pad, we could certainly do a playground. It would be fun to get something, a real tall tower type piece. It's kind of trending right now in playground design, getting kids up as high as we possibly can, of course in a safe environment, but it's a unique perspective for them, and they all want to clamor to get up to the top first. So having something unique there, I think you really have an opportunity for. It could be very sculptural. They even have at-grade tiny trampolines, which I'm dying to put somewhere, because adults can use these too, which I think would just be a ton of fun, but maybe not after you've had a couple of adult beverages. Again, sculptural play equipment, some ropes, things of that nature. Moving on to our large pavilion. This is actually the pavilion in South Elgin that we did. So interior lighting, we've got some column wraps and stone veneer. Other options, this was one here and here that we did for the Village of Bolingbrook. It was a standard structure that we customized some things to for them. We had some counter bar height seating. We had a fireplace put in. Although this was an open top, we did add a translucent polycarbonate to actually keep the rain out. So it again gave a little more cover than the slats would. Again, some lawn seating as we look out towards the stage. And then up in this corner, we would like to add a raised planter. It also doubles as a seat wall, giving the shelter a little protection from the corner and the traffic there. And just adding some protected landscaping into the space as well. The main event at the south end, lots of different options here. We liked this particular option because it does start to pick up on your 4-post sign example as well. Could be something simple like that. The angles on this one we liked because it kind of matched the crisscross paving through there. We could have a series of fixed seating throughout as well. Could be a simple arch. And then, this was an example of the wall behind, thanks. And then at the very back of the stage, you'll see a lot of the structures do have a back wall. even in this one here. So we were thinking that could be not necessarily a totally solid metal panel, but a screen. A lot of times we can do decorative designs on them, so it has a little flare in the back, but still gives a backdrop to the stage itself. It would be a great spot for vendors and sponsors to be able to hang things on or use for the event, the acts that are going on. The mixing table area would actually go right there. And that needs to be between 75 to 100 feet away from the stage. And we can absolutely add a movie screen to the front of this, so we can do movies in the park. Another way to enhance the space. We certainly want to have some lighting out here. Our catenary system goes across. We have our current standard light fixture along the streets. We will certainly add some addition of those up and down. We think for the pathways through the lawn seating area at the intersections, we would have some very low level pathway lighting. We would like for this to be on during events, just to give some very low lighting so that people can move through the space without hurting themselves while the event's going on, just to give people some direction. This might be an example of a catenary system that we put over the top, just to again create that ceiling space. Some lighted bollards might be useful as well at certain intersections. And then these are flexible lights that move a little bit in the wind. So they're kind of whimsical, which we like. They're definitely included inside planting beds. So they're protected. You'd have to climb in there to bother them. But we like the little whimsy of that. Just adds a nice little flair.
How hard are those to plant around?
Not hard.
Okay.
And then we have some areas of specialty paving. So not only at the west entrance, the paving around the pavilion and down on the dance floor, variety of things we could use. There's actually, this is a glowing aggregate, comes in a couple different colors, which we think could be really cool here, especially for events. It's not a really bright light, it's a real low level lighting, but certainly during events it would illuminate. So we could do that instead of the pathway lighting, just to give folks a chance to not trip and fall as they're moving around. But you can do this with, you can make designs out of it. They have a couple different sizes. It glows really bright for about 3 to 4 hours, and then over the course of the evening it slowly dies down, and then it recharges with the sun the next day. So, and I think the current warranty for this is like 10 years, so it lasts a long time, which is good. Certainly a lot of different paving patterns that we can incorporate, and as we move farther in through design, some of these will probably make more sense than others, but just for a sense for what you might expect. And then we're back to the site plan, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
There's a couple ideas or thoughts. Like I love the thought behind like where the stage goes and all the interactions, and the lighting and like the luminescent flooring would be awesome. Like just to make it magical at night.
Right.
So yeah, love this, and it sparked a couple ideas that harken back to like the sign going with the railroad theme, or feeling like it's rooted in, since that is like the train line cutting through the depot station. Building on that, I liked how the angles were nice for like cutting through at different angles, but wondered if it could mimic like a rail yard, like rails, and did kind of a little sketch just to see. I wanted to make sure it actually made sense of what I had in my mind. So wherever we can incorporate like the building, I liked that domed one because it looked like a lot of historical train stations where there's like beams with metalwork and studding that feels a little bit industrial and maybe mimics a train station or train yard. And then like the luminescent stuff, it seems like putting 2 rails on each of the sidewalks would be a nice touch, that it at night just makes this
The whole space.
geographic space, but it also looks like a train yard, so.
Yeah, we could totally do that.
But yeah, I mean, great ideas, and yeah, like the entryway, it seemed like you could almost make an argument either side. Would it make sense to mirror an entryway on either side, or
Could do
is
that.
it better to have one side be primary?
It's not super big of a space, but I mean, we certainly could add a gateway on both sides at Railroad Street. So there's certainly room on both ends.
And then along the path, it seems like wherever we do have any structures, it might be cool if, like at a train stop, those little like angled overhangs that you sit under that look like you're at a train stop.
Oh, yeah.
So wherever there's cool inspiration from trains, just to kind of tie it together, we could put that clock on the other end that feels like it would be at a train station. That's
Mhm.
kind of in there. So, but overall, love it. Just like pulling inspiration from those directions would be a cool touch.
We like it. We can definitely do that.
It did seem like some of the structures were pretty modern, so I like the idea of bringing in more of the train yard, and the curved band shell I liked as well. I like the idea of a splash pad in town, but I think that, like I agree, Matt Oakland had brought up potentially doing that on the Hager property over on that side, and I think that would be a more suitable space for it, because I
Perfect.
would like to see this more event-based.
Okay.
So that's my 2 cents, and I love the illuminated floor. Yes.
I do have concerns with putting this gazebo enclosure right in the middle of this thing. You mentioned being able to see the stage from that second lawn through that, but it seems like it would have to, like, if that is the goal, which I think is a good goal, wouldn't it want to be sort of in line rather than turned on this sort of angle to have a clear vision of that?
Part of the reason why we did that is to really to allow more people both on this side and this side to have visual access out to the stage, as opposed to just one side or the other.
How tall is it?
The eve height would probably be about 10 feet, but you can, I mean, they're customizable, so if you wanted it a little taller, you could.
Well, the stage is gonna be up high too, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I liked what Andy had provided, which had a higher height so that you could see through more, and if it
Yeah.
did have
More open.
walls, they were sort of glass or clear or like some kind of coloring, so that was a really interesting concept.
And on that same note, the polycarbonate that you noted,
Mhm.
you know, on the ceiling of it, so it's not such a heavy
Right.
enclosure,
Right.
or on the roof of it.
Sure.
I don't know if, you know, matters at all, but I do like the idea of the town saying of a raised stage rather than one of these ones that are kind of ground level. I don't know if that pertains to this particular process, but
Yeah, for sure.
that is something that I would like to prioritize.
So
personally.
we currently have the stage at, I believe, 3 feet above, 3 to 4 feet above
Okay.
the
Yeah.
lawn space
I think
down
that's fine.
here. So
Yeah.
a little bit, not a
little
ton.
bit. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
saying it has to be, you know, way up high, but-
What's the
So-
purpose, go ahead, Kathleen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so speaking of the height, like the point of reference that we probably all have very close by would be in Carpenter's Park. And that stage, and which I think is probably about a 6-foot.
Well, what is it, the one that
Five,
we
yeah.
put up for Thursday, how tall is that one?
It's gotta be 4 feet or 5 feet.
I would say it's about 4 feet high.
Yeah.
I've always felt the Carpenter Park one is too high,
I thought
Okay.
so too.
and especially
And I'm trying
standing
to give
on
us
it.
some context,
Yeah, it's
I'm not
hard to
saying that
jump
was
off of.
necessarily right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yeah.
great,
We've done
Great
stages at that
description.
6-foot height before. They're larger venues.
Mhm.
You've got more lawn space and people to get around. Some of those also have higher grade talents as well. So they, like in their contract, they have requirements for 6-foot stages. It felt like this needed to be just a little more quaint or homey, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It just feels like it needs to be a little bit smaller.
Well, reference to what we have right now on the temporary stage for the Thirsty Thursday is at 4 feet or whatever, I think is.
Is the elevation the same from the south to the north? Ground elevation?
No. No, we don't have a topographic survey yet, so I don't know
'Cause that would
exactly.
play a part in it, you know.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know?
I don't, it's not too steep, it's
No.
it's relatively flat. And if I can also, because the stage you did for South Elgin has steps out front.
It
So
does.
that you could, it's not a wall
Correct.
in front of the stage, you have steps up to it.
Which we do like to have. Although it may seem odd, but a lot of times that makes it a little more community focused. You can have,
Weddings.
small graduation events, all sorts of things you can have out there. And to have easy access up the front of the stage sometimes is really quite helpful.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
I'm concerned about the sidewalks going right through all the grass. Aren't we kind of taking away a lot of area for people to sit on, the grass?
nope.
Or is this
No,
just
people will, some people don't want to put their chairs in the grass, they want to put it on a sidewalk. It kind of gives a little bit of seating
Okay.
for everybody.
It's a little
And I would
far.
politely say, no, I don't think that impedes anyone, so. Nope. You haven't worked with me before yet, but I'm pretty no nonsense, so.
There's the ADA accessibility too.
Yeah.
Correct.
And when I see how we have set up the stages in the past, there's definitely the people that want to be kind of on the sidewalk or on the street. Granted, right now, we've had this stage, either on River Street or Meyer Street. But even when we get to the point of, Wednesday, there's people that like to be on that one sidewalk. That isn't the bike path.
Right.
Right.
Pass through.
Do we want to put a little bit of a park there for kids to do something? Because I know we've had that brought up by residents wanting something for kids.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I
So
think
one
we
of the
keep that
thing-
event focused.
Okay.
I mean, we got a park just up the street
Yeah.
on 68, and another one right down by the river.
A sitting area, just a little area there with a fireplace would be pretty neat.
Yeah, I like the idea of the fireplace.
Yeah, I like that a lot, especially bringing it into a longer seasonal
Yep.
type
Yeah.
of approach. I think for kids, there's that area that's north of the depot that we can set up with the temporary games and things like that we already have and that we're already doing, or expand upon that. Right now, it's kind of just, some bago and that kind of thing, but getting some more commercial type infrastructure of games that aren't just like off of Amazon,
Right.
type of thing.
Yeah.
That and that's a good place for more kind of isolated kids activities too.
Yeah. So one of the things we discussed that she didn't bring up, but I love, is there's a decorative fence, maybe you did bring it up,
Yeah.
along the bike path so people don't
Yeah.
accidentally wander into
Right.
it. And so it separates the people biking from people attending the event.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the swings could be put in the pavilion area and
Yeah.
then removed during events.
Yeah.
So they are available most of the year, but just removed during special events if people wanted to.
Right. Or
So you're
if,
seeing these kind of like industrial porch swings.
Yes.
right.
As
Mhm.
opposed to like.
Yeah, they're commercial
teeter-totter
grade, so,
swing
yeah.
sets, swings.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I love
And
that.
if we didn't want to do a kid-focused area here, we could do the swings within this, the pergola area. and they could just be up all the time.
I think the
Where at?
idea of,
Instead of the splash pad.
Instead of the splash pad, we envision this to have a seat wall.
Okay.
Hold on, let me go back.
You just passed this.
So, envision something like this with a seat wall in it, but we could have sections where, we have the swings in that particular zone. Oh, hold on, there they are. So we could combine those things together, kind of dual purpose.
I like the swings.
And I like that they're removable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of movies, so that there could be a movie
Yeah.
set up.
I like that too.
And then I wrote down a few that I liked, just so you have notes. But like the swaying lights in the bushes, I think that would create kind of a magical feel,
Mhm.
like at night especially. It's mostly a nightlife where it gets really busy there, so that would be the more we can do things with lights that are cool. And then the overhead ceiling panels, that was something I wanted to point out on like that arch structure. It seemed like a lot of the train stations had like lights of just like glass showing through, so that would be cool to have that. And then the dance floor is a great idea, and the swings and the bike fence especially. I cycle on that all the time, and
Yep.
most people avoid that whole area on their bike and go a block over just because people are walking everywhere.
Of course.
So the
We
more
don't
can
always
help
pay
that-
attention to where we're going.
But it should be expected at this point, but maybe this would make it a little less random.
Right.
Are we looking at doing anything with that hill? That big hill that goes down into the current gravel parking?
so I did meet with the developer who was planning the big development on the lumberyard. And we shared some of these initial concepts with him and talked about what we're gonna talk about next, which is how we wanna fund this. And we talked about how to sort of reduce that scale and make it a little easier. And if we weren't able to do much to mitigate the slope, we would do multiple staircases. And what was most compelling about all of this to me was this idea that we could make Meyer Street two-way, because I think that just increases the ease of access
I agree.
all around.
Mm-hmm.
And so to only need like 2 more feet to make that happen, and then to continue it through the new development, just makes it so much easier for us if we want to also close Railroad between Meyer and 4th or 3rd. So it's a like net positive to
So,
make the whole thing flow.
yeah.
So
One thing that isn't on this plan that we have to talk about at some point is that we do currently have a caboose sitting right in the middle of this
Do
whole.
you like
It's
how
right
I
here.
totally
It's
avoided
actually right
that?
Uh,
Isn't that it right there?
So we have
Yeah.
to talk about
Yeah.
what the long-term plan is for
That's
that
right.
caboose.
I think that's where we put the swings.
So we are still waiting for, I think Phil and I had talked about 2 different ways we could approach that. We've been talking with the vendor, Duke, about this for years, about the possibility that when we put the real road, because right now it's a parking lot, that it may not be able to be there permanently.
Alright.
So there's always been an awareness that this, when it becomes a road and when we redevelop the property, it may not be able to exist there. But that's a conversation the board needs to have, and we can have that conversation one of 2 ways. Like, we were gonna potentially put money in the budget proposed for 2026 to do the preliminary engineering for that road to see what would fit and if we would need to remove it or not. Or if we want the developer to take on those costs, then we don't budget for it, and he does it as part of his project, and then we just don't know the answer to that question until later down the road. But we can have that conversation sooner rather than later, because it may not just be, is it feasible or not feasible to keep it based on the road, it just may be, does it fit with the overall long-term plan of the space? And our hope is to get Duke's into a permanent space in the lumberyard, so that he has a bigger area for his operations, and he wants to have a brick and mortar place where he can have more seating and be open year round and all of those other things. So we can,
Yeah, he's also expressed interest in purchasing the actual caboose.
Yeah, he has like an alternate idea for what could go there if he does get a brick and mortar place for this smokehouse
Right.
portion of the operations, but it would be a temporary thing, it wouldn't be open all year round,
Yeah.
so. That's,
Is that lot that it's currently on, is that part of the lumberyard property?
as far as what we're conveying to the
Yes.
developer, so once the development is complete, the developer is responsible for completing the roadway improvements, but that would remain our property right of way. And the only property that would be conveyed to the developer would be the private development portion. So we would retain ownership of that whole green
Myers
space
Street
plus the street.
to the depot grounds,
To-
so it's still the
yes.
East Dundee property.
Meyer Street and up to the bike path,
Yes,
and
and
then,
Which includes the
and we
grass.
still don't know how much we would need space-wise to do the two-way on the other stretch. So that's why, you know, if that is, I've always anticipated that when it becomes a real street, it's probably unlikely that somebody's gonna be able to do smoking operations in the street.
Understand.
So,
which isn't part of what the future is.
right,
However,
right.
I think,
So if we wanna have that conversation sooner rather than later, we can have it put on the agenda for this fall. Or we can wait to see what the engineering recommendation is, which probably we wouldn't have until sometime in early '26.
Well, I mean, I
I'd say-
think it's related to that 72 design as well.
yes,
Because that's potential land use.
yes.
I'd say we had the conversation sooner than later,
Yeah.
so everyone can plan
Okay.
accordingly.
We can do that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I do, I do like a lot of what's on here, I do, but I don't think anybody said out loud that I prefer the orientation of kind of what Andy's proposed, his direction for the,
Matt said that also in his email.
yeah,
And I think
prefer the
perpendicular.
orientation instead of at an angle,
Yeah.
you know, more linear to the overall project and the overall property.
And if we did that, could we keep some parking along there where you have it
On the
jutting
east
out
side?
into the street?
Right here,
Yeah,
we'd really like to not have parking right there. And part of the reason is because it's a pedestrian access point. It also gives you a great view of the space without having to look through the cars to see it.
okay.
So we like that visual connection that you'll get as you're moving around as a pedestrian in the
Makes
downtown
sense.
area. I know everybody always wants more parking, but you just made a parking garage.
That's
Ah.
true. That's a true statement you've made.
So if we could not put parking, I think that would really be a great approach.
So two of the things we want to get out of today's discussion is some really good feedback for them to take back and potentially modify this to get to closer to what we're trying to achieve, but also, you know, number one priority was to get the soundstage and to get spec'd out so that we can construct it next year. And so what we talked about phasing this to where we could get sort of an estimate of the soundstage and the critical elements that are required to make the soundstage happen, and then everything else could sort of be phased over time. And it could be built alongside the development of the lumberyard. Certain elements we're making a new TIF for that area, we're including this part there so that we can make those expenses all part of the overall project. And then we may be able to look at other sources of funding to achieve some of these elements sooner rather than later. But overall, like, want to get to a plan that we can then set out to execute over several years.
Well,
So,
so, no. you-
yeah, so great, thanks, let's focus. The conversation. So on the soundstage itself, this isn't just, you know, where in the past we have had a temporary stage. We've had, in past years, we had the bands supply their own sound systems and speaker systems and that kind of thing. I would really, and so there's been various, some people that have had really, very loud, loud systems, and other people that have had kind of almost to the point of underserved systems. Now this year we are managing, my understanding is at least the speakers and some of the initial sound system. Is that correct?
We at first, like you said, would have the bands provide their AV. Now we buy the audio to make sure it's all consistent, rent
Right.
out the audio.
Okay, so what I want to make sure, and so that would be part of the infrastructure of this soundstage, would be the
To run
AV.
it past the AV people, or are you saying a permanent installation?
I'm thinking if we're going to put this investment in here, that we'd want to have a permanent solution as a part of this, not
I
just
agree.
a blank structure, and something that is going to be a little bit more regulated, so that the nearby residences, we know what's coming out, so that nearby residences are less affected than they are now. If we're gonna put this in here, yes, this is gonna be great for the businesses, to be able to, you know, have the business off of the events. But I also wanna make sure that we're improving the lives of the residents.
We can focus the speakers where we want them.
Yeah, and really kind of do everything that we can, soft and hardscape, to mitigate that sound, which I'm looking at you. And I know you've got experience to do that.
We do.
Because we aren't in, you know, a big wide park. And we've got a lot of people, you know, that live right on, either on River Street or off, you know, off of Meyer, that we can make sure that we're gonna be doing well by the residents.
That would be a great improvement. All right, so generally I'm hearing we have direction on some of the elements we like, some of the elements maybe we can eliminate, and then looking at speccing out the soundstage to get that engineered so that we can construct next year, and then for, once we settle on a final design, a phasing schedule with costs, then we can then.
Okay, one more question. I noticed there's only about 14 tents for the markets that we do. Is that gonna be enough space? And I know we're trying to keep growing those too.
Plus, we might have to add some outhouses for the potties.
I mean, I would imagine that those tents,
Can we set up vendors on,
I think we could just count this
The
as
south
a
one?
blank slate and set
Yeah.
up our tents however we want. That's just,
You could double them up on this side.
but I mean, we could stretch them into the other lawn as well.
You
right?
could, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if you were having an event that was just like an art fair, yeah, you could totally line all of these
Right.
with tents
Yeah,
and fill that whole space,
as well as the structure.
of course.
And I know at this point, with the current market, we've got spaces on one side of, there's gonna be a lot of changes to the infrastructure that we've just kind of put in, isn't there? So what I would like to make sure that we're doing too is that when and where we can, like some of the bollards that are on, understand like what are we keeping, what are we getting rid of, and is there any reuse possibility of some expensive bollard lights and things like that?
As we move into the next
Yeah.
phase, we will have a very detailed,
Yeah.
as detailed as you want to have with me. I'm happy
Yeah.
to do that, but yes, that is absolutely gonna happen in the next phase.
Okay, cool.
And if there are things that we just have to reuse and we want to include, just let us know and we'll
Sure,
incorporate
yeah,
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, anything more? All right,
Great.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one quick question. If we're doing fencing along this whole side here, for the bike path,
Mhm.
I mean,
So
do
that
we
would-
consider fencing the whole thing in so Public Works doesn't have to put fences up every other week?
Well, we could. Yeah, I mean, we could refine that as we move forward with the plan.
That's more of a question for the board. What do you guys think?
Well, the only thing I think about that is that, like, when we do events and we close down River and Meyer, we're putting those tents out there for the food service, so you'd have to, that'd be on the other side of that fence still.
Yeah, so temporary
But I mean,
fencing outside. of
What do
that.
we need to close down all the parking though, to do this, to do our fence now?
I mean, that was part of the
yeah.
thought
That's a good
process,
question.
was if we had the permanent stage, we could keep one or both of the streets open.
Yeah.
Right.
They also suggested if we wanted to have the food vendors set up under the pavilion, there would be access to water and electricity. So
Mm.
that's,
That's great.
something to think about, and then they would be shade covered too. So that was a good
We
value.
should build a
add.
hand washing sink into that pavilion
For sure,
Mm.
after last week's events with the county.
Right.
yeah. So
Alright.
I don't foresee necessarily a need to put the fence up every event, once we have this infrastructure, but it's a decision if we wanna more constrain or less constrain. What is the vision for
Where's the
event?
happy medium, where's the,
Right.
yeah.
I would say for our regular events, we'd be fine. Maybe Oktoberfest, we would have to shut down one street to add on, but other than that.
Okay, we'll see. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Chief, can I ask something on this?
Of course.
One of the things that we've been discussing is making this area safe and making it safe from vehicles being used to plow through trucks.
Right.
Can these planters and benches and whatnot be spaced out where it would help prevent that?
Yes, we can certainly add some security measures. Yeah, of course.
Love it, thank you.
Yep, great.
All right,
Thank you.
moving right along. That brings us to C. I'll entertain the motion for C.
Move to approve a resolution authorizing the termination of the existing master services and purchasing agreement, waiving competitive bidding, and authorizing execution of a new master services and purchasing agreement with Axon Enterprises, Inc. for body-worn cameras and associated software.
Did you want to talk about this, Chief?
Second.
And second by Andy?
So what this does is well, let me back up a little. One of my commitments to the village and to the police department was to make sure that we stay on the cutting edge of technology. When we entered into an agreement in 2023 for Axon's body-worn cameras, the software developments that they've come up with since then weren't available. So now in 2025, they are available, and a few of the notable things that I'd like to bring up that I think are really important to our police department are the ability, it's called Draft One. What it does is it takes the body-worn camera footage, it actually will construct the police report for the officer, saving them a bunch of time in writing the report. However, it also, it has built-in safeguards, meaning that the officer actually has to go in and make sure that they understand what's in the report. One of the things that legal is concerned about is that if there was something in the report that the officer didn't realize was in the report, and then they sign off on it, and then they have to actually testify that could get them in some pretty deep legal trouble, right? So there's safeguards built into the software that help prevent that. Another thing another feature I should say that I think is really important for use is that it has auto transcription, but auto translation. We deal with a lot of residents who speak Spanish, Polish, Russian. This software has the ability for them to speak into the body camera. It'll translate it for us. Then we can speak back in English, and it'll speak back to them in their native language. I think those are two of the biggest features that I think that would be very helpful. It would save us time in report writing. It would save us time if we didn't have somebody with the ability to translate the native language they're speaking. We'd have to call them, wait for them from another agency. There's also some developments in the future that I think are going to be very time-saving. One of them is Form 1. So we have a plethora of paperwork that we have to fill out, for anything from a tow report to domestic violence report. All these are separate forms that we have inside of our report writing software. Axon is going to come up and be able to have those fillable based upon our written narrative. So it will take everything that's written in our narrative, post it into those forms, again, saving officers more and more time. Those are just a few of the key features that I think are important. There's others in there. I included it in the memo that I wrote for you all. Do you happen to have any questions for me?
Well, it's expensive.
It is expensive.
Doubling your cost.
Yes.
It's your budget.
Right.
So what does that mean? Are you asking the board for more dollars this year, or is this gonna work within your budget for this year?
It would be in addition to my budget this year. So it would be an additional roughly $11,000 this year that I hadn't initially budgeted for.
And is the hope then that whatever this report writing software slash form writing software is gonna save so many hours that it's gonna pay for itself? I mean, like, it's a lot of added cost. You know, what is the return on investment, as they say?
Well, you give a prediction in there of roughly 40% on report writing, right? So let's say that I got an officer who's down on a very detailed report. It could take them anywhere from 3 to 4 hours to write their report. And I'm just estimating here. More extensive reports, for example, a long-term investigation by a detective could take considerably longer than that, right? Mm-hmm. If that's saving 40% of the time, we're all of a sudden down from 4 hours to roughly 2.5, right? So that gives me another body that I can have on the street doing traffic enforcement, responding to calls for service, writing parking tickets, just as an example.
Yeah.
So I think the long-term cost saving is there. The other benefit is to jumping on it now is that it saves us expenses now, getting into it early, and it commits us to that cost for 5 years. So we're not all of a sudden, hey, year 2, it's up another $10,000. Year 3, it's another $20,000.
How much is it next year?
It goes, so we're currently spending $26,110 on our body-worn camera software currently. This roughly, like Trustee Kunze said, doubles it. It'll go from 26 to 53.
Is that in the budget for next year?
It will be, yes.
So I was really interested in this because we have a very busy police force and we have a very lean police force, and we've been trying to staff up to have all of our police officers be full-time. And there's been a lot of times when we wouldn't be able to necessarily, I don't know how to say this, but we're on camera now. There's incidents that occur that sometimes we're not able to adequately address due to staffing limitations. That was a very politically correct way of saying what I think you're all understanding. This is a very busy town. There's a lot of things happening, and those resources are so limited that it would be great if they had more of their on time to be dedicated to actual policing versus report writing. Because we're paying a lot for them. They're well trained. They're great officers, but them spending time on reports 50% of the day, 40% of the day, 60% of the day, whatever it is not the highest and best use of their time. They need to be out in the community helping, making sure that people are abiding by rules and regulations and keeping the community safe. So it is a big expense, but I do think the return on the investment is there, and I think that it also lends itself to officer wellness as well. I mean, burnout's a real thing, and nobody I've ever talked to says report writing is their favorite thing to do.
Especially police officers and firemen for that matter.
It's a force multiplier.
I was suggesting we use the contingency in the village administrator's budget to cover it for the rest of this year, and then if it's supported, we'll build it into next year's budget.
And Franco wants you
So
to use
if
it
we're
here to
looking-
write his minutes.
Yeah. So if we're looking at an additional 27,355, that's a yearly amount. So really for this last half of is that for the whole last half of this year, or would it be half of that 2027?
So it would be the remainder of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
so it would actually, you're actually looking at a contingency of about 14,
I think
No, it's 11. for the-
11,000.
11.
For the
Okay.
balance of
Yeah,
this year.
my designer math, come on, you guys. Yeah. I can appreciate personally, I've had personal experience of using transcription from AI, transcription from videos, several videos, combining the two of them together, and then taking that transcription, putting it into ChatGPT and saying, you know, summarize this for me, and it basically took something that would have been completely hair-pulling for me, and using a voice that is more of an instructional voice, and with what Axon is trying to do and narrowing it into specific needs for specific reports, I can completely see it putting it into, you know, specifically a instructional voice. Had something that would have taken me probably 4 or 5 days, and multiple iterations going through the other subject matter experts into something that was literally, 4 hours, and then several iterations with my team of subject matter experts on, you know, how to approach stylistically and bring things more stylistically into what we have already established. So I am thinking this is an extremely good use of our money, and it did free up our team for doing things that can't be done, through how we would necessarily work with AI at this point.
I'll just add to that. I had my doubts.
Yeah.
When I was looking into it, Axon has allowed us to demo this for 2 months.
Cool.
It is uncannily accurate. So
Right.
yeah, I was like, holy cow. So,
Right.
Chris, you guys
Chief, how
actually
many
use-
officers speak another language? Sorry, Scott.
we have 2 Spanish-speaking officers currently. We just extended a conditional offer to a subject who speaks 4 languages. So that would get us up to 3.
And when you
Who
have to
speak
call it-
more than just English.
When you have to call a translator, where do they come from?
Typically either from Carpentersville or West Dundee if it's a Spanish translation. If it's a European translation, such as like Polish or Russian, it considerably further away. Which means we're sitting there waiting for the translator to get there.
Do you have to pay for that?
No, it's mutual aid.
Well, plus if our police officers go to another town, the other towns may not have it, may make their life a lot quicker too to get back to our town.
Yeah.
We have a very good working relationship with West Dundee and Carpentersville, so, due to their proximity.
Well, I think Erica hit the nail on the head. I mean, I'm sure you would like to have more officers. I'm sure that Brandis would like to have more people in her office, and Phil would like, we are a small town with a lot of big dreams, so everybody's short-staffed, and anything we can do to help you guys be more efficient with your time, I think is money well spent, so. And you're saying you have used this already?
For a couple months now.
Yeah.
So we already have it
Right.
physically?
They're already using the Draft One software, correct?
Yeah, and it's already working. Like,
Yes, the
way better.
translation software, we haven't been able to work yet because it's not quite ready.
Okay.
But it's already part of our cameras that we already.
But
currently
you,
have.
I mean, you're saying just that Draft One is just invaluable already.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, so, there you go.
So the biggest challenge would be legally, and to not just rubber stamp with the officers, but to, and is there a protocol that would be built into place?
Yeah,
There's
Because of
actually
this?
safeguards built into the software.
Kelsey looked into this quite a bit. We've been looking at this for other municipal clients
Okay.
too. Our biggest concern was we didn't want it to produce records that are statutorily prohibited from being produced, like under the Juvenile Court Act. I think you addressed that with Draft One. They said it's a different cloud-based system. They have protections in place. The FBI uses this too for confidential documents that can be kept separate.
Okay.
So, Chief, I think you were satisfied
Yes.
that there. I think the other thing we were looking at too is just making sure that they, you know, there's FOIA documents that it's compatible with FOIA requests and the Axon understands that we have to produce those documents too.
Sure.
Just some other minor language we'll have to tweak.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Motion to approve?
We had a motion.
But you just need direction on this, right?
Yep.
No, we need to
No, it's a
vote.
motion.
It's a motion.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I have
Yeah,
a,
first I seconded
I have
it.
a second, so I could take roll.
We had a second, yep. We're just taking a vote.
Andy did.
I seconded it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Guma?
Yes.
Trustee Sauter?
Yes.
Trustee Saviano?
Yes.
Trustee Coonsey?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, D, discussion and direction regarding placing certain village information on the village website, and utilizing artificial intelligence. This was you, Andy, that brought this up?
Yes. Yeah, as a history, we were looking at a bunch of different AI systems last year and the year before. They were all pretty expensive and weren't quite robust as we would have liked them to be, so we kept pausing and then we delayed it. But through my work, we work on, you know, creating custom chat AI GPTs that will scan through whatever data you hook it up to, and I talked them into, let's use the Village of East Dundee as a pilot case as we were learning it and building these out for our customers. So I was using it mostly to make my job easier researching things on the website, and it turned into a really useful tool. So it's still in a beta phase because there's certain data that it can't get, but the end goal is, there's a link to it in here, but it's kind of like a chat GPT interface that it says Ask Ed, like a Village of East Dundee's chatbot, and it's already pre-trained on our zoning and ordinance databases and knowing where that is. It knows Kane County and its databases, it finds the events calendar. So the pieces that are missing, because all this stuff is in PDFs, but PDFs are hard for AI to read through because there's so much formatting in there that it can't read through tables well. So the budget PDF is unreadable. So that's what turned into, since we're doing all the setup on this for free, why don't we look at what we have in our current databases and say, if we just do an export of a CSV file quarterly or yearly from maybe 3 departments like the police, finance, and public works, and just identify what are fields that we're, they're not too sensitive that we can't release them, but would provide value. Say a resident wants to know how much debt are we in, or what's our budget for events each year, or how much do we spend on roads, or I've even tested, I live on a corner lot, I want to put a 6-foot fence right up next to the sidewalk, can I do that? And it'll say, no, the side yard has special restrictions, it's actually counted if you're on a corner as a front yard, and you'll need to reach out to Public Works probably to make sure, but you might have to set it back further. So it does give you very good advice as a resident when you're not sure, like, how do I find this in the zoning database? The big picture is this is a chatbot where everything could still live on our website. It wouldn't need to be on this proprietary system. It's really just seeing the connections and making it easier to find things. And then identifying from each department what would we like to be searchable and easily findable. And then in the long term, the system sees all of the searches, and AI gets smarter and says, people are always asking for this, and it seems like it's getting it wrong, and then you can, it will point out things and rehook it, like, oh, it's looking at an old calendar that we didn't know was on the website. Let's train it on, this is where the real calendar is. Like, so it gets smarter and smarter over time, and it should improve. But the biggest hurdle right now is getting, like, that data is not really visible because it's kind of buried in PDFs.
Okay. I put our budget into ChatGPT just today and asked it a question, and it was able to answer it accurately.
It depends on the PDF. Was it based on
It was our
this one?
2025 budget. you think maybe that's because we have ChatGPT 5 now, maybe they resolve some of that?
Yeah, I mean, this would pull in like the later ChatGPT 5 maybe resolves it, so it does get smarter over time.
Yeah.
And when you ask it one time and then a few months later you get a different answer because it maybe got smarter. So it is constantly evolving, but it is, I've tested and sometimes it will find answers and sometimes it won't, and then I'll ask it why and then drill down far enough. It usually is that it's embedded in a PDF and it can't figure it out.
I mean, I think if you go to ChatGPT, there's a message at the bottom that says, "Don't believe anything this thing says."
Yes.
Yeah, there's
You
a,
know.
it has to have a disclaimer
Yeah,
saying
so I think if
this
we
is
just
not
have
the
that
official
disclaimer,
voice. Yeah,
Mhm.
You know, that
it's a helpful tool,
makes a
but
lot of mistakes and you should check and verify.
How many people are we getting a lot of phone calls for different things that are on the website as it is, and we say, hey, it's on our website? Because I can't imagine there's a lot of people that are going to the website and still calling.
We get calls regarding all sorts of things. Also FOIA, I'm not sure how this would work with FOIA too. That could potentially reduce staff time in FOIA if it is searchable on the website.
yeah, it should reduce FOIAs because it can find most things pretty fast, pretty easily, and they won't have to call and say, find me these things that I don't know where they are. So it should reduce staff time.
It's a download about that.
What are your thoughts on this, Erica? I wanna know what you
So,
think.
yeah, I've been tinkering with it. Andy gave me early access. So I've been using it for a little while, and I think that it can be useful, it can be helpful. There's definitely, a lot of our ordinances and resolutions, and I think that's initially what you started using it for, just for personal use, and I think there's some benefit there. I think it'd be helpful, like, if we want to take this to the next step, we need to have legal draft some language, just telling people, that, sort of use it at your own risk kind of thing. If and when we get to the point where we're ready to put this publicly facing on the website, and then also, like, I would like to identify a staff person who could be the point person for collecting this data and then updating it, whatever interval we determine. We do have a lot on our plate, so this is just one more thing to add to it, but
Mhm.
I think, if we hone in on what we want to put on there and then set a schedule of quarterly or something, like it's a doable thing.
If there can be a backside benefit to staff, I think I definitely would like it because I find it, going to, whatever the ordinance thing is that we have to go to see. Finding it is not so, it's not as intuitive as you would like it to be. You get through a lot of, there's a ton of garbage you gotta go through to get to what you want. Whereas I think you can ask a lot more specific questions on through a ChatGPT bot that isn't handled through that, what is it, the people that wrote, documents are these departments, or do you see these departments as being the departments that would be most helpful, or are there different databases that you'd want to be focusing on or prioritizing over these, the police, the finance, and public works? Like, is it building codes? Is it our ordinance?
I think it would be useful to have all the staff weigh in on that and
Yeah.
just sort of come up with a prioritized list based on sort of the most common questions they get asked.
Right.
So we can, do that exercise and then try to assign somebody to start working towards getting this to be, first testing it internally behind the scenes and then getting it publicly facing at some point.
Like GIS or what we've already built on that. Is that part of something that we want, that would be helpful for people, for residents and for businesses, and as well as staff?
I think think it's great. I think it's looking into the future with AI and utilizing it. If I knew that there was an Ask Ed, I would use it. I Google stuff, like I hear someone drilling at a weird hour at night and hammering, and I'm like, when's our noise ordinance? I find myself Googling it. If I knew there was an Ask Ed, that would be my go-to for everything. Otherwise, my first is Google. Forget going to the website and trying to search.
Really?
I'm impatient. I'm like, find it fast.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
use ChatGPT all the time too. So I think that it's awesome. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and if you're using ChatGPT all the time, like it's training and learning what you're going through. So for us, it's maybe easier, but a resident who's just newly using it, it might take a lot of investing on, I live in this neighborhood, I'm in this town, or in this, not the Dundee in Scotland, and all these, like narrowing it in takes some time, but this presets it right away for people.
Yeah, and to that point, it's like, how do you set up the best query to ask questions so that you can get to the answer that you're looking for, which is easy to kind of give as a fill in the blank kind of thing.
All right,
Sure.
well, we got our direction, huh?
Ed would be my friend.
All right, let's move on to discussions and direction regarding East Dundee Police Department's policy and practices related to immigration enforcement.
Yeah, and this one, I'll talk again. This one came up following other suburbs around us. It seemed like there was a lot of misinformation on police assisting ICE in raids and starting rumors that I know are not true in this town, that we follow the Illinois state laws, but there are articles of other towns who say, no, we don't do that, we do it our way. So since there are so many rumors, I thought it might be helpful just for me to understand what are our policies or what do we do, and the chief had great answers to all of it. I feel like if we were to have something publicly that we could post to say, these are our policies and this is how we handle things, that when there are rumors, that we can have a flyer that says, no, this is our policy, this is how we handle things, instead of just saying, well, look up what state we're in, it's Illinois, and figure it out. What we do is we just follow the laws, because there's kind of federal and state things that it's hard for people to understand, like what does that mean for my community. So to build trust with the community, having something like that. I think that the Elgin Mall was the one spot that there were some rumors, and it sounds like there wasn't even a raid in the Elgin Mall, but that was the rumor because it was maybe on the street or somewhere near there, and then people misunderstood, and I think some people were saying that nobody was showing up at the mall because they're worried that maybe ICE raids are happening there, and so just trying to combat some of the rumors with
facts.
Yeah, here's our facts of our policies of what we do, and we're very transparent about it, and there's no guessing, and I think most people would be happy to hear how we handle it. So that's why I feel like having some sort of public statement that we can have and point to. It doesn't need to be announced loudly, but it could be used to put on flyers when we're trying to combat misinformation at a certain location.
That can even be the narrative, to combat misinformation.
Yeah.
The board has requested this put out there.
Do you feel we need to do something like that, Chief? Because if ICE comes in, they're federal.
So the Illinois Trust Act is what governs local jurisdictions' ability to cooperate, or more importantly, to not cooperate with ICE in this example, right? Unless it's accompanied by an actual judicial warrant signed by a judge, the law's pretty specific in that we can't be a part of that, right? And nor would I let my people be. Along with that, there's the Voices Act, which we do have a policy for. The Voices Act basically is for immigrant victims of crime or immigrant witnesses of crime. We do have a policy that regulates that. I did share with Trustee Sauter that there is a flyer that's distributed by the Illinois Attorney General's office that's Know Your Rights, that can be given to people to immigrants if they're concerned about what their rights are in the U.S. It's provided for them online through the Illinois Attorney General's office. To answer your question, as your police chief, I don't think so, but I take your direction, of course, and I mean, I assure you we're always going to follow the law.
Thoughts?
I mean, I've heard rumors too. Like so I don't know that.
The thing about rumors, they don't have to be true.
Well, exactly, but that's why putting out facts is important.
But yeah, if
I
we
like
had
to put out
something to
facts.
point to, because people ask me, what's our policy? And I'm like, I don't know actually. And that's why I had to ask, and they were all great answers. And it's in here now of a summary of it. But yeah, having it in here is at least one thing we can point to of, in this packet, we can see that this is
Right.
our policy. So we're like one step closer already, just
Yeah.
by being able to point to something now when people ask.
I
And we'll
agree
be
with
able
that.
to train our AI chatbot too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, just find it here, chatbot.
Yeah, having it
I
here
will
and having
say
it
that
recorded is.
Our conversation inspired me to make sure to write an email to our troops to make sure, hey, and they all are familiar with it, but it was just my way of reminding them that we don't go
Cool.
on.
It's top of mind now for a lot of people, and just even the fact that there was a rumor that was started about the Elgin Mall, and just because of that fear was there, I think it's our responsibility to it is our responsibility to protect not only the physical harm, but the mental harm and uncertainty that people were feeling and had concerns about, and the welfare that, the potential welfare of the businesses that can be affected by that. So that is, that's important. We want to see all of our businesses succeed, and unfortunately there were definitely rumors that were put out there, as this mall came in. So it doesn't surprise me that there might be things that would get stirred up and stoked back towards the mall, in that regard.
Okay. That's it? Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's move on to staff reports. Trustee Mahoney.
I wanted to thank Chris, and your team on the banners that were issued on La Mariscara, and the gas station drove by that last night and noticed that those were removed and taken care of. And I think that's all I really had
Thank
of
you.
importance. So thanks, Chris. Oh, the other thing was, do you have an architectural drawing of the depot with dimensions?
I do, but it's not the detail that you need.
Okay.
It's,
I just need like the overall rough dimensions.
They don't have any dimensions.
Okay. Okay. Is there any way we can get dimensions added to that so I can get a good quote?
What type of dimensions are you looking for?
I'm looking basically for the outside, the roof line, the outside roof links, with. I'll take a picture.
It's almost easier just to physically measure what's there.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if we can get it added, physically measure it and get it added to it. Okay. All right, thanks.
Trustees Coonsey.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I was just wondering, if we had money in our events, budget to purchase some like yard signs, to post around town for the town photo.
Nice.
Or possibly get Post-it notes printed that we could stick on doors, or a mailer, either way. Just wondering.
The mailers we get for like our events, like we do with Lucy, and the whole St. Patrick's Day passing out are like dirt cheap, so we can get a whole bunch. We can do that.
But that doesn't count, that accounts just for the printing, not necessarily for the mailing, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you were to put it, to mail it out, yeah, I mean, it would be an additional expense.
Okay.
We could explore that.
Don't we have a database of a lot of people's emails too, from like the water billing and stuff, that we can blast an email out?
We could probably insert that we coordinated with Brandis, whenever the timing of the next bills are, but that might be an option.
I think the next bills are after the after the event.
It's a September date.
So,
End of September would be the next October.
when?
End of September.
End of September, and this is September 21st, right? So,
Okay, well,
so that won't work, so it would need to be a mailer, probably signs, and
signs,
the electric sign,
yeah.
or bi-weekly email.
Okay. I don't know if we have anybody that we use for printing, but if it can be put on a Post-it note, I will walk around town and post it on people's doors. But I don't know how easy that is to do.
I would suspect that's fairly easy. Hard part would be on you. And
Yes, I would distribute. I
Yeah,
can get a
the
team
printing's
together.
very dirt cheap. We could get it done.
Trustee Saviano.
Speaking of printing, for that event, can we get I Love East Dundee stickers or something to pass out to everyone that comes? Because we're gonna get a bunch of residents in one spot. So something like a little,
Can you design something?
he can. I can paint things.
Voluntold.
But I think that would be cool, like everyone.
I like it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's it, no report besides that.
Okay, trustee Sauer.
The Bike and Pedestrian Steering Committee met here, and it was great. Thanks, Caleb, for putting it on, and Phil for also participating. And we also got to go on a bike ride around town. One thing I wanted to point out that I didn't realize about the Dairy Queen intersection, even though I go through there all the time. Well, right as we got close to it, I warned the people who are studying our town that it's kind of squirrely, that intersection. And then as soon as the light changed, a cyclist in a car almost hit and started honking and yelling at each other and almost had a big fight in front of them. And I was like, I didn't pay him to do this, but everyone was fine. But yeah, it's the issue of you're at Dairy Queen's corner and you're really trying to go kitty corner across.
All right.
But the cars that are going straight, that's where you get an issue is you're really supposed to go to Vans and then wait a whole cycle until you can cross again, but
Right.
it's impossible to cross because there's no button to push. So you'll never get the walking signal. You'll just be stuck there until you decide to break the law, so you start arresting everyone. No. But yeah, it's like it is really messed up, and one of the consultants mentioned that they might recommend doing everybody gets a red light while pedestrians can do whatever they want, and then it goes back to normal again, which happens at some Chicago and other towns. But that issue I wasn't aware of, that it's actually impossible to get across the right way because everybody eventually just cuts over and hopes the car doesn't hit them. So that's a major issue where we don't have a safe way a biker could do it, so, or pedestrian. But yeah, there will be recommendations, and that committee, that's its whole point, is finding solutions to these things. So just sharing that one because it stood out. But that's all.
Sorry I couldn't make it, I really wanted to, but I was on vacation, so.
Trustee Guma.
No report.
Okay, Brandis. Anya. Chief.
No report.
Bill.
Just a quick update, the kayak launch, we're, King County and the contractor are moving along. Hope to have it up and functional by the end of the month. And as you may know, Thursday at 5 o'clock is an open house to talk about parking on March.
No report. No report.
No report.
No report. Franco.
No report.
No report?
Village attorney. Okay, Erica.
no report.
And I have no report, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Right on time for the storm.
All in favor?
Yeah, right.
Any
Nice and
opposed?
dry.
Hearing none, motion carries.
Nice job, team.
Erica,
So I